to bring in our guest, Mohammed Ngoshe. He's the Assistant Director General. He's now retired. He works with the DSS. Mr. Ngoshe, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Good morning, sir, and thank you for having me. And thank you, Nigerians, for expressing so many appreciations to the DSS and other security services for the successful resolution of the Oriire school abduction saga. Thank you.
All right, we're going to come to the Oriire saga in just a moment, but let's walk back a little bit because, in fact, one of the first questions on my mind would have been, we understand certain persons were arrested during this incident, others were neutralized. So this is day 3 afterwards. So I'm wondering whether there's an update as to the arraignment. But my producer may be able to put up in between all of this some of the successes that the DSS had recorded in terms of conviction. I looked at the list. There are certain high-profile individuals that have been arrested. In fact, we understand that some of the things that led to the standoff for these 56 days was to the effect that they wanted some of their commanders, Ansaro, for instance, which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda, which is a breakout of the Boko Haram, the Ansaro people, wanted some kind of an exchange, and the federal government said, no, it's not going to happen. And then it led to all of this. But where I'm going to in my question is, talk to us about what measure is being taken to be able to get some of the hardcore evidence that we present in court to help us nail some of these terrorists that we have been able to nail. I look at the list in June 2026 alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 convictions already secured by the state services on behalf of the federal government.
Thank you. The process of getting those people arrested and prosecuted to the point that they have been successfully convicted and sentenced tells you that hardcore evidence must have been obtained. It's a product of several months of surveillance, technical operations, counterintelligence operation on certain targets to assist the operation, exploitation of sources and assets of the service. All these culminate in the successful arrest in the first place, then prosecution. You know, the courts cannot be twisted just by mere words. They have to have concrete evidence to rely upon to convict anybody, especially in criminal cases where the standard of proof is actually beyond reasonable doubt. And in this case, they are terrorists, their activities are criminal, so the standard of proof is very, very high. So the service must have actually done so much in the background before those convictions were secured. And the process entails a lot of security, intelligence operation, exploitation of available assets, surveillance, technical activities that will yield to some of the things that they think that are hidden and people cannot get to them and all that.
So just before we leave the Oriire matter, to trail on what our newspaper guest had talked about, where he questioned the seeming lack of transparency in the operation, because we have not seen bodies of terrorists that were neutralized. We have not seen an interview conducted with the suspected now kidnappers of the Oriire pupils and teachers. As a matter of fact, there are suggestions in the media that some of the terrorists may have abandoned the pupils, you know, before the operation. And so the suggestion that this particular success story has weakened Ansaro may not be true. So from where you stand, and perhaps if you have insider information, can you talk to us about this lack of transparency in the process and the need for more reassurance that indeed, if they have neutralized terrorists, if they have arrested terrorists, that, you know, that is the case, and subsequently we'll be seeing more transparency?
Transparency, that's why it's a security operation. It is not an operation that is supposed to be carried out on the pages of newspapers or on radio or television stations. If you permit me, you give me time, I will take you through the operation. In the first place, the terrorists chose the Oriire school abduction for a purpose. The purpose is to pressure the government to release their leadership that have been arrested and are being prosecuted by the service, especially counting on the fact that the president is a Southwesterner and the media in Nigeria is inclined toward the Southwest, so there will be a lot of pressure, and that is good for them. Unfortunately for them, that was not to be, because the service went into other activities, especially the arrest of their own their own assets, like their parents, their wives, their children. All of them are collaborators. Don't mistake me. It is not just picking them for the sake of picking. All of them are collaborators. So they are all subject to be picked and interrogated. Upon this happening, the terrorists now opened communication with the service and asked what needs to be done. And they gave those conditions. Those conditions were denied flatly. And the terrorists now were put under pressure. The pressure was transferred from government to them, and they had to now look for a way out. They knew that if anything happens to these children, their own people who are in custody will also suffer the same fate. So the option of killing any of them was out of the issue. Now the problem to them was how to resolve the matter amicably. Amicably in the sense that they wanted a lifeline. And that lifeline did not come because the security forces did not accede to it. In between, there was a congregation of security forces. That is the synergy I had somebody talking about in the last clip. There was a congregation of security forces, and positions were taken after the location was isolated. And the whole community around that place was dominated. They were denied access to food. They were denied access to weapons. Informants, their informants were taken out and used as assets. Videos of all these operations were ferried to them, and they saw that they had no option than to surrender. It was in the process of closing in on them after they were encircled that the three forces from the police, army, and other security services that were lost through IED. They marched on IED and they were killed. So getting to the level where they were to be annihilated completely, they gave out the children, thinking that that will resolve the matter. After the children were successfully resolved, the forces engaged them. Unfortunately for them, all of them were all surrounded. They were engaged. Some of them were eliminated, and about 4 of them were critically wounded and picked, and the other ones among them were picked with the minor injuries. The 4 of them that were critically injured died in hospital, while the other ones are being processed to be prosecuted. So it is not an issue of transparency not being there. At every stage in operation, there are steps that needs to be taken. At the right time, if time permits, the nation will see every detail of what has happened. After all, the thing has now become a matter of public public interest. So it is not going to be swept under the carpet for whatever reason. But I think the time is not right for all these kind of comments to be made on the operation. I think we should be eulogizing the state services, and other security services for doing what they have done and doing it very well.
All right, Mr. Ngoshe, well, I mean, I'm not sure a lot of Nigerians may agree with your position, because by the time you're ready to let Nigerians know or see, you know, because there's that trust deficit, there's that trust gap between Nigerians and those who are on the other divide. But my question to you is, what this has painted is that it looks like when the DSS, the army, when they are ready to work, they can work and achieve results. So you have said that you have given reasons as a basis as to why this perhaps would have been a soft target, because Mr. President is Southwest and the politicking around it and all of that. But there are those who will be wondering, so if the DSS has this kind of intelligence or intelligence gathering and capacity, how come in Borno State there have been mass abductions there as well? In Plateau State, we've been seeing these kind of attacks as well. Benue State. So how come we have not seen this kind of performance from the DSS and other military servicemen, you know, get to work? Because there are also mass abductions as well in the north.
You are right, there are mass abductions. But first of all, I want to address the issue of trust deficit. Nigerians, please, you should learn to trust your servicemen. These people are working hard and they are achieving successes in their own way. For every successful operation that you see against Nigeria, more than 5 to 10 such operations must have been foiled. And these are no easy successes to achieve. So the issue of trust deficit should please be closed. Nigerians should align with their servicemen. They should cooperate with them, give them time, give them understanding, and give them all the necessary cooperation that they need to be able to do what they have done. Be that as it may, coming to mass abductions in Borno and other locations in the country, I want you to understand that every case, every security operation, every case has its own dynamics. What happened in Oriire might not be the same as what is happening in Borno. And those dynamics that I told you, the political aspect and other considerations that weighed on the minds of the terrorists to go into Oriire are not the same considerations given to the issue in Goza. I am from Goshe, and Goshe was attacked. A lot of our people are still in captivity. Our circumstances are completely different from what happened in Oriire. DSS has capacity, but every operation has to be approached depending on its own dynamics, in all its own difference. Look at the situation in Plateau, for example. A lot of people are saying, why are there no intelligence on them? The problem in Plateau, if you look at it critically, has a lot to do with the retaliatory attacks. When you attack a Biro man and kill him, as a Fulani man, you should know, without anybody giving you intelligence, that you are going to be attacked by Biro people. And if a Biro man should attack a Fulani community, raise them to the ground and kill their people and rustle their cows, nobody needs to tell you that they are going to come after you. So these are the differences that Nigerians have to know regarding the kind of operations that was carried out in...
Yes, if I may comment, points well noted. When we talk about trust deficit, it's quite huge. But to whom much is given, they say much is expected as far as the conversation. So you can see the list of some of the convictions that have been secured by the DSS and the federal government by extension. My question is about what has to happen to make our security agencies to be as independent as possible to do their work? Because what was demonstrated, even though it was late, but they say better late than never, in Oriire, shows that, as my colleagues have said, they have the capacity. I mean, the military, the security agencies, including the secret police, everybody has that capacity. if there is sufficient support to make them do their work. So the bigger question will be, what stops them from being effective? So if you were to recommend, you've almost become a Director General of the DSS by virtue of where you retired from. You can, I'm sure you will know that there are political interferences sometimes in these things, and there are political implications. How do we insulate our security agencies from doing their work from politicians and the political encumbrances so that they can deliver and make our country not to be playing field for the Ansaros and the Lakrawas and the Boko Harams of this world, because it's exhausting?
Thank you. That's a very good question. The whole thing boils down to leadership of these services. I am a DSS retiree. I can speak for the DSS. I knew the DG way back in time when we started as young officers. He has been an operations man through and through. So he knows the implication of allowing political considerations to outweigh security considerations. His interest is the security. His calling is the security. His expertise is the security. So anything that will jeopardize security is not in his own interest, and he does not accede to that. So that will be the starting point. Have the right leadership for these services. Secondly, the general populace of Nigeria. Like I said, rally around your services, your servicemen. Doing those things is not something that can be done with the snap of a hand. There are things that take a lot of time. It requires a lot of assets. It requires a lot of time to do surveillance, to gather information, to even get the necessary relevant contacts and assets to be used in getting some of those things. So it is a whole lot of activities that requires a lot of understanding on the part of Nigerians. This practice of once anything happens and everybody goes to the high heavens to call for immediate action, release this, do that on the security is not helping matters. It is not done like that. If it were that easy, no Nigerian will be in captivity for any reason. But believe you me, a lot of effort needs to be put into it, a lot of understanding on the part of Nigerians needs to be given. Then on the part of the politicians, security has no distinction between politicians and non-politicians. All that you can have as a politician, if you are a high-profile politician, is maybe a security detail. How many of them can protect you? If they protect you, what of your people? What of your community?
Yeah, my apologies. Because of time, I did tell you we're racing against time today. We're going to have further conversation about this nexus between the political class and some kind of independence of our security agencies to do their work, because I think we have the history to show that they have the capacity to do their work if they're allowed to do their work. They've demonstrated it. They have the times when they drop the ball, and we'll be very critical of them those times. But when they do well, we commend them. But we must thank you. Mohammed Ngoshe, former Assistant Director General, now retired, of the Department of State Services. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you so much.